Hey, it's Frank here with 4D Honeybee. It is late August, August 30th, I think. And I'm just going to inspect hive number 1 here, which has producing well as far as honey. When I last checked it 2 weeks ago, the super on top had probably 4 frames drawn out and capped with honey. So what I'm hoping is that they're getting close to... Oh, look, a spider inside the box. That's not good. That spider hauled out of there pretty quickly. I think that spider came from one of these nests here, and as soon as I open the box it gets access to the lid, and it got in the inner lid and hauled it out of there, and you can see these bees aren't too concerned about it. But anyway, there were 4 frames of drawn out honey there, and I'm hoping that maybe it's time for a second honey super on top, because this is really my only hive that's really producing honey well. So I'm going to have a quick look for honey to see if I need to add the second super on tomorrow. But I'm also going to take a quick look at the 2 brood boxes down below just to make sure there are a lot of bees. I mean, the first look is great. I like that there are a lot of bees up in the lid. That means there are a lot of bees in the honey super as well. At least it should mean that. And that's always a good sign. But I don't want to get too focused on honey production here, and I have done that in the past, and I've let hives suffer because of that. So I want to make sure that in late August they should still be making brood, and there should be a decent amount of honey in at least the second brood box for the bees to have for the winter. So I just want to not take for granted that just because they're producing a lot of honey that everything's okay in this hive. Okay, so that's what the goal of our inspection is today. I've got the smoker ready, and I will smoke them. Wow, looking really good here. So let's look for the queen on the lid here. And I'm just trying to take a broad overview of things. I'm trying not to look at each bee individually, hoping that the movements and actions that the queen usually does would attract my eyes to her. I don't see her here, so we're going to go ahead and put this near the front of the hive. There is some burr comb on that they build up from the honey supers up to the lid, and that's because they are really filling these out. So what I did was I went with 9 frames up here. I originally put 8 in by mistake, but I wanted to have fewer than 10 so that the bees would build out the frames wide, and you see they have. Take a look at this. It looks awesome. You see how they've built out each frame well beyond the limits of the frame itself, and that works well for me because I don't use a knife to cut off the honey. I use a roller to pierce the cells of the honey, and that's how I extract it. So because I can put 9 frames there instead of 10, it just means that I have to extract less frames to get the same amount of honey. So they now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames almost fully drawn out, and I'll let you have a look at a couple of them because they look really good. The outside frames are barely touched, which we would expect, right? So I don't think there's any kind of an emergency need to put on the second honey super box just yet. It's kind of cool today. It's 20 degrees Celsius, which is about 70 Fahrenheit. So stuff is glued on pretty solidly. When it's a warm day, the propolis comes off really nicely and easily. You can see on the outside frame they're just starting to build out on it. But I'll pull out one of the inside frames that are highly drawn out so that you can see what I mean about how thick they have drawn out honey here, or drawn out the comb to make the honey or to store the honey. Let's see, I'll pull this one out. This one here is really a prime time frame, and it is heavy. Oh my goodness. Wow, look at that. That is one beautiful frame of honey. Looking really good. There's a lot of burr comb happening there, so I will take this box off and clean them up. You notice I haven't smoked them yet. These bees have been really calm. If you've been following my channel a lot, you'd see that they've been really good. But the last time I came out, it was an overcast day like it is today, and I took 8 stings. And all 8 stings were in my back through this suit. So I only really felt 2 or 3 of them. But I also found out that you should really have a look at the stings to make sure you remove the stingers, because I guess one stinger stayed in my back and I felt it the next day. The next day I felt that very clearly there was a stinger still in my back. There's one sting in my hand. Okay, now have a look at this. This is a larva, right? And it looks like this larva came out of the bottom of this frame, of the honey frame that I pulled out. So it looks like they may have made some brood comb in between the honey and the brood box. So let's have a look at that now. Should get a good look at that. And what I'm going to do is lift this box up a bit, smoke them, and then get back to them, because it's not an ideal beekeeping day, being that it's overcast. They might not be all too happy today, so I'm going to take some precautions. And it doesn't mean they won't sting you, but it might mean they otherwise occupy themselves, as opposed to getting overly defensive. Yeah, so you can see there is just a ton of brood on the bottom of these boxes. Okay, so the way I'm going to deal with that, I'm just off camera here for a sec, but I'm just going to remove the burr comb from the bottom of these frames here. And then I'll get back to working in the brood box that you can see there. So you can see there's larvae there, which I mean tells me that they're hatching bees. Unfortunately, I've killed those larvae because they created that comb between the brood box and the honey super. So we will get rid of those. But I mean, it clearly shows me as well that that the queen is still making bees, right? So that's a good sign. That may mean that I won't go down into the next super below, because it's not really needed. I will take that wax home with me and get rid of the larvae. I don't want to leave that around, because that would be a prime invitation for raccoons or skunks to come and have a free meal, and then maybe want to go further. So unfortunately, it cost me some larvae, but the hive is doing really well. I will pull out one of these frames as well and just have a quick look. Let's do this one. Again, I can see there's brood in it, so or brood in this box. So that was my mission here, and this frame just confirms it so nicely. Look at this frame. First we'll have a look for the queen. I don't see her. Have a look on this side too. You can see the brood here, though. It's beautiful. She is doing a great job of laying. So I'm going to get this frame back in. I'll get the honey super back on, And I'll close this box up because it's doing well. It has done well ever since I installed the nuke. And I don't want to mess with it, or I don't need to. Okay, so that'll be it. I'll wrap this up and I won't bore you with the details. I'll get on my next box, which is the box that has been struggling. I'll determine whether or not there's a queen or it's queenless. I'll have to take a big step in my next hives. Thanks for joining me on 4D Honeybee.